The gradational ascent of the mind. The chakras are centers of Shakti as vital force. In other words, these are centers of Pranashakti manifested by Pranavayu in the living body, the presiding devatas of which are the names for the universal consciousness as it manifests in the form of these centers. The chakras are not perceptible in the gross senses. Even if they were perceptible in the living body which they help to organize, they disappear with the disintegration of organism at death. Purity of mind leads to perfection in yoga. Regulate your conduct when you deal with others. Have no feeling of jealousy towards others. Be compassionate. Do not hate sinners. Be kind to all. Success in yoga will be rapid if you put your maximum energy in your yoga practice. You must have a keen longing for liberation and intense vairagya also. You must be sincere and earnest. Intense and constant meditation is necessary for entering into samadhi. The mind of a worldly man with base desires and passions moves in the muladhara and swadhisthana chakras or centers situated near the anus and the reproductive organ respectively. If one's mind becomes purified, the mind rises to the manipura chakra or the center in the navel and experiences some power and joy. If the mind becomes more purified, it rises to the anahata chakra or center in the heart, experiences bliss, and visualizes the effulgent form of the Ishta Devta or the tutelary deity. When the mind gets highly purified, the meditation and devotion become intense and profound. The mind rises to Vishuddha chakra or the center in the throat and experiences more and more powers and bliss. Even when the mind has reached this center, there is possibility for it to come down to the lower centers. When the yogi reaches the Agya chakra or the center between the two eyebrows, he attains samadhi and realizes the supreme self or Brahman. There is a slight sense of separateness between the devotee and Brahman. If he reaches the spiritual center in the brain, the Sahasrara chakra, the thousand-petaled lotus, the yogi attains nirvikalpa samadhi or superconscious state. He becomes one with the non-dual Brahman. All sense of separateness dissolves. This is the highest plane of consciousness or supreme asamprasanta samadhi. Kundalini unites with Siva. The yogi may come down to the center in the throat to give instructions to the students and do good to others, Lok Sangarha. Experiences on awakening of Kundalini. During meditation you behold divine visions, experience divine smell, divine taste, divine touch, hear divine anahata sounds. You receive instructions from God. These indicate that the Kundalini Shakti has been awakened. When there is throbbing in Muladhara, when hair stands on its root, when Uddiyana, Jalandhara and Mulabandha come involuntarily, know that Kundalini has awakened. When the breath stops without any effort, when Keval Kumbhaka comes by itself without any exertion, know that Kundalini Shakti has become active. When you feel currents of prana rising up to the Sahasrara, when you experience bliss, when you repeat Om automatically, when there are no thoughts of the world in the mind, know that Kundalini Shakti has awakened. When, in your meditation, the eyes become fixed on Trikuti, the middle of the eyebrows, when the Sambhavinchi Mudra operates, know that Kundalini Shakti has become active. When you feel vibrations of prana in different parts inside your body, when you experience jerks like the shocks of electricity, know that Kundalini has become active. During meditation, when you feel as if there is no body, when your eyelids become closed and do not open in spite of your exertion, when electric-like currents flow up and down the nerves, know that Kundalini has awakened. When you meditate, when you get inspiration and insight, when the nature unfolds its secrets to you, all doubts disappear. You understand clearly the meaning of the Vedic texts, know that Kundalini has become active. When your body becomes light like air, when you possess inexhaustible energy for work, know that Kundalini has become active. When you get divine intoxication, when you develop power of oration, know that Kundalini has awakened. When you involuntarily perform different asanas or poses of yoga without the least pain or fatigue, know that Kundalini has become active. When you compose beautiful sublime hymns and poetry involuntarily, know that Kundalini has become active. The quintessence of yoga. Yoga is union with the infinite through meditation and samadhi. A yogi is freed from karma or the law of cause and effect, from births and deaths, and from the trammels of mind and flesh. The yogi has perfect control over his life forces and mind. He can dematerialize at will. The yogi practices discipline of body and mind. He has control over his body and mind. He meditates on Om. Yoga illumines, renovates and helps the yogi to attain the highest point of perfection. If one awakens his superconsciousness, there will be no problems at all. There will be only love, peace, harmony, unity and happiness in this world. Practice yoga to prolong life. The practice of yoga lessens and prevents the decay of tissues by increasing the life force and fills the system with abundant energy. By the practice of yoga, the blood is charged with abundant oxygen. The brain and spinal centers are rejuvenated. By the practice of yoga, the accumulation of venous blood is stopped. The body is filled with abundant energy. The brain centers and the spinal cord are strengthened and renovated. Memory is improved. Intellect is sharpened. Intuition is developed. How can one who does not know his own body hope to achieve success in yoga? First, have a strong, firm and healthy body through the practice of Hatha Yoga, and then take to Raja Yoga. Breathing plays an important role in prolonging human life. Therefore, practice pranayama regularly. A rabbit that breathes very rapidly does not live very long. Practice rhythmic breathing and deep breathing. There are detailed practices in yoga for cleansing of the food tube, dhoti, and the stomach, as simple and effective as cleansing of the teeth. There are methods in yoga, tratka, for strengthening the eyesight and cleansing the nose. People who suffer from overweight, constipation, or dyspepsia will specially find this yoga practice very useful. Through the practice of yoga, the evolution of man is quickened. What he can gain in hundreds of births, he can gain in one birth through the practice of yoga, and attain final emancipation. He can attain longevity and attain perfect health. He can compress in one life the experiences of several hundreds of births. He who practices basti or yogainima never suffers from constipation and other abdominal disorders. Perfection in yoga. A yogi can switch his life currents to and from the senses. He takes the prana and the mind to the Sahasrara or the thousand-petaled lotus at the crown of the head. He enters into samadhi. He is dead to the world. He experiences superconsciousness or nirvikalpa samadhi. He is in blissful union with the Lord. Savikalpa samadhi is subject to time and change. There is Tripati, the seer, sight and seen, or knower, knowledge and knowable. There is some link with Prakriti or matter. Savikalpa samadhi cannot give the final emancipation. This is also an obstacle to Nirvikalpa samadhi. The aspirant gets false contentment and stops his meditation or sadhana. Hence, this is an obstacle to the final or higher realization. Nirvikalpa samadhi alone can burn all samskaras and vasanas in toto. Savikalpa samadhi cannot destroy all samskaras and vasanas. In Savikalpa samadhi, the life force or prana of the yogi is withdrawn from the body. The body appears to be dead, motionless and rigid. Breathing is suspended. He is aware of his bodily condition or suspended breath. Nirvikalpa or Nirbija samadhi is timeless, changeless. This is the highest state of samadhi. Double consciousness. In Nirvikalpa samadhi, the yogi's consciousness merges with the absolute consciousness. There is no bodily fixation. In his ordinary waking consciousness, even in the midst of worldly duties, he is in communion with the Supreme Consciousness. He has double consciousness. The crow has one eyeball, but two sockets. It turns the eyeballs, now to one socket and afterwards to the other socket. Even so, the yogi has double consciousness.